Topping today's news, the National Security Minister reacts to rogue correction officers trying to smuggle drugs into the prison. We hear from the Member of Parliament for Angliston on the impact of the Clear, Hold and Build initiative, environmental authorities cracking down on violators, and the Bahamas Mooring pulls out of the controversial Exuma seabed lease. On Monday, a 31-year-old male correction officer was arraigned in the magistrate's court for possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply and taking prohibited articles into the correctional facility. These charges stem from an incident that occurred on Thursday, February 20th at the prison where he was taken into custody by police. This is not the first time in recent months a prison officer faced similar charges. Asked to comment on the behavior of some of the prison officers, the Minister of National Security, Wayne Munro, gave the following reply.
And the measure of an organization, in my view, is not whether it has any members that stumble, that breaches the rules, but the measure of that institution is what it does when that happens. And so when you do see the police put before the courts police officers who they say there's reasonable cause to say they've committed an offense, when you see the Department of Corrections through its internal affairs section and in concert with the police put correctional officers before the court who they say have breached the laws, that can assure the Bahamian public that the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Bahamas Department of Corrections, have no sacred cows, that if you are found to be in violation, they will call you to account.
The National Security Minister was fielding questions during the Clear Hold Bill press conference at the Office of the Prime Minister on Monday. At that same press conference, the Member of Parliament for Angliston, Glenys Hannah Martin, addressed the criminal issues in her constituency and the impact of the government's Clear, Hold and Build initiative. Hannah Martin says, to rid the country of bad apples, we must start at the root of the problem at the community levels.
This whole project that we speak about is to deal with this dilemma that we face as a people, this issue of violence, physical violence, sexual violence, verbal violence. And it became clear to us as a government that we had to understand what is it that is fueling what we are seeing in this nation, and to start from the premise we're not going to accept it. And how do we attack it at the root cause? Yes, you have policing, yes, you have this, that, and the next thing. We're still facing this sustained dilemma. And the question is, what is the root causes? What are the root causes of what we face?
Hannah Martin says although the Clear, Hold and Build initiative began in her constituency, it does not end there, as Angliston shares many of the same challenges as the other communities.
And so what you hear described and what you are hearing today is an effort by the state, by this government, to attack on all fronts issues that we believe feed into or impact issues of violence in this country. And they started in Angliston, which is a good place to start because I appreciate the focus and the concentration of resources. But the approach has been threefold: environmental, infrastructural, and one of human development.
Police say they have seen a 48% decrease in murders in Angliston since the initiative began on October 7, 2024. The Clear, Hold, Build initiative now on its way to Nassau Village and the Carmichael communities. Commander Desiree Corneille, lead designate of the Bahamas Wildlife Enforcement Network, or BAHWEN, officially introduced the new authority to residents during the Office of the Prime Minister's press briefing on the Clear, Hold, Build community initiative. During her contribution, Commander Corneille shed light on the agency's intended purpose and how it will effectively combat environmental crimes in and around various communities.
Of the Bahamas Wildlife Enforcement Network. So as a steering committee, Bowen has already been leading the charge in environmental law enforcement. We've been ensuring that crimes against our natural resources, against our wildlife, against our environment are taken just as seriously as any other offense. And over the last year and a half, we, along with our regulatory partners and our other law enforcement agencies, we've not only been educating offenders, and that includes an entire gamut of persons, including heavy equipment operators, including excavators, including persons who are in charcoal, the wild bird hunting community. We've been actively educating them on what the laws are that will be enforced. So remember, these are industries that up until now have been under or unregulated.
Commander Corneille also highlighted the benefits of the agency and how proper policing of the environment will be beneficial to all Bahamians.
Abiding citizen of the Bahamas, that Bowen's role is a critical one. Our police and our other security forces have many competing priorities, but we cannot allow environmental crimes to be left unchecked. Protecting our ecosystems is not just about conservation. It's about food security in this country, it's about economic resilience, and it is about national stability. Bowen is intended, like the Minister of National Security said, to be launched as a dedicated enforcement agency, law enforcement agency, a disciplined force, bringing environmental criminals to justice. And the return on investment will be clear, preserving our lands and waters, strengthening tourism, securing our fishing industries, ensuring the natural beauty of the Bahamas remains intact for generations to come.
Officials say information and warnings have been issued to various parties in advance, and hefty spot fines will now be enforced to those violating the environment. Prime Minister Philip Davis, referring to a World Bank report that was highlighted at last week's CARICOM meeting in Barbados, pointing out that the region is challenged by outdated teaching methods, infrastructure challenges, and significant inequalities in educational access, all which demands immediate attention. Well, back at home, while speaking at the Excellence in Education Awards at the Atlantis on Saturday, Mr. Davis pointed out that this is not to say that the government is not making positive strides in education here in the Bahamas.
Let me be clear, this is not an indictment of our government's efforts. We have made meaningful progress and important strides forward. However, it is a candid acknowledgement that there is still significant work ahead of us. As Prime Minister and as a father and grandfather, I deeply believe we owe it to our children to confront these realities openly and honestly. Our children deserve nothing less than our full commitment to overcoming these barriers.
The Prime Minister stressed that the government's goal is to build on its successes and address the challenges head-on, transforming the Bahamas' education system into a powerful force for equity, opportunity, and hope. And finally, in this segment, sad news for the family of former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram. Mr. Ingram on Monday confirmed that his daughter, Kelly Ingram, passed away shortly before 1 p.m. on Monday following a brief illness. Kelly, 45 years old, was a 1997 graduate of St. Andrews International School, and she pursued law at the University of Sussex before she was called to the Bahamas Bar in 2005. She served on the Bahamas Bar Council and the Bahamas Financial Services Board. Additionally, she chaired the Straw Market Authority from 2017 to 2021. Prime Minister Philip Davis spoke privately with Mr. Ingram and extended condolences on behalf of his family and the government, and that's an extension of the Bahamian people as well. Leader of the official opposition, Michael Pintard, also expressing condolences on behalf of his family and the Free National Movement. We here at JCN also extend our deepest condolences to Mr. Ingram and his wife, Dolores, and their entire family. You're listening to JCN News. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back following the commercials.